beautiful. It's
Mm,
unbelievable, you
mm,
know. But man, I'm just so impressed with those people.
yeah.
Uh, the amount of determination and pride they have, um, fighting fighting spirit. I saw I think the guy, one of the finalists in the Arnold Strongman Arnold Classic from Ukraine. Dude, he's going back. Like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
did my Arnold Classic on the war.
Yeah.
So,
Klitschko brothers, and yeah, there's a lot.
did you see the Vladimir dude? He auctioned off his Olympic gold medal
Hmm.
to raise money for the families that have been displaced.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's pretty wild.
And someone, I don't know, I didn't see who won the bid, but they paid $1 million for the medal,
Mm,
and then they
mm.
gave it back to him.
Wow.
Love it. Love it.
It's impressive, man.
Love it.
It's
Absolutely.
impressive. So,
Absolutely.
Well, that's definitely something that every athlete should watch and know. Like he's beyond just being an athlete, right? And that's what a lot of people forget sometimes.
Hmm.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's amazing just to see it. I mean,
Yeah. A lot
and
of
then
lessons.
right now there are, and who knows the exact number, but it's been reported here in the states that there are over 3,000 former U.S. Special Forces that are over there volunteering.
Hmm. Mm.
And I just saw that the one of the most decorated snipers in history from Canada is on the ground over there
Mm.
fighting for the
Mm.
Ukraine.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So it's yeah, it's
Yeah. Not
unbelievable.
the solidarity is impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
All right,
And what do you
Ray.
guys think about all of that, that's going on right now? How it affects us.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, it's a this will be a turning point in history, right? I mean, this
Mm.
is history what we're seeing unfold right now. But I think in an unprecedented way, you're seeing, the world come together in a positive way that is just not going to be acceptable going forward like it has been in the past for people just to come in by force and take over a sovereign nation
Mm.
because they want to, because they think their might makes right. And the way this war is being fought and with all the technology and things that are being utilized, that, I mean, for them to still be in the fight, right, this many days in, just shows the resilience of the people. And even let's say every city falls and Russia has control of every city, they're never going to have control of the people, and the people are going to continue to fight. They're going to continue to gain arms. They're going to continue to wreak havoc on these forces. And the Ukrainian people are fighting for their country. They're fighting for their lives. The Russians are fighting because they've been told to,
Mm.
and there's no comparison to that. And I'm hopeful that this will come to a quicker end. I'm hoping this not going to drag out over a decade, like Afghanistan or some of these places, Vietnam, where the warfare ultimately the indigenous people won and drove the invaders out. It will happen, but I think that from a global standpoint, the way the world's viewing it makes it different this time.
Mm.
And with social media and all the things that are happening, the Russian people were misled, and then now through all of the technology, the truth is getting through there. And at first, they were arresting everyone that protested, and then it's gotten so big that the last I heard was they're considering installing martial law in Moscow because there's too many people to arrest now, right? That are protesting. And this is how governments get overthrown. When the people decide, enough people decide that they're had it, it's over. You know, it'll happen in China too one day. It's over. Like people do not want to be controlled that way. They want freedom. And there's no reason if you're doing well in peaceful conditions, why should you go to another country and start a war and crash both countries? Because both countries are their economy is getting crashed. But the Ukrainian people are, really gaining world fame in a good way for who they are and what they stand for. So I don't know how many immigrants are going to end up in the United States. I'm sure at some point there will be Ukrainian people that end up here. I had no problem with hosting a family in my home, no problem with that. So we'll see how that unfolds in the coming weeks, months, and years.
It's funny. Without 1960, the bus, not Rosa Parks starting the movement, without the times, a true leader and a true legend, someone who leaves a legacy, you really need challenging times to, and if we go to the metaphor of Muhammad Ali or a boxer or infamous or a legend in their sport, if we go with something as simple as that, without an opponent or a trial or a challenge, you will never get to legendary status. You need challenges. You need times that really show what you're made of. And it's amazing how what I'm getting out of this experience, it's amazing how Zelensky has stepped up. He's become almost a iconic in no time, because the opportunity was presented and he rose to it. He rose to the time by just being real, by just showing the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian culture, solidarity. I mean, as we talked about previous getting on here, people who could have easily said, you know what, I'm doing well, I'll stay in my ivory tower here and kind of just maybe I'll throw some dollars at it. But they're going boots to the ground. They're putting themselves at risk. I forgot the name of the boxer that's gone back actively. He's active. He's gone back. Obviously, we have the two Klitschko brothers who are
Lomachenko.
Yeah, Lomachenko. Yep, he's gone back.
And then the heavyweight that's got a belt right now.
Some hockey players have gone back. Right? I mean, these people are in a very nice sweet spot where everyone would forgive them to not go back because they're, representing, playing at their highest level. And Lomachenko is, again, he's active and he's going back, putting himself at risk. So, it's really, and the classic, I mean, there's going to be t-shirts with the quote on it that I don't need to ride out of here. I need some bullets. Like, right. I mean, that's John Wayne kind of deal, right? Right. So that's coming out of a movie, I'll be back, all those kind of famous quotes. So it's really showing me that's where leadership shows up. Where are you in the times when everything's going well and you're in your nice little suit and you're looking all prim and proper, but this guy's in his t-shirt most times and not, like it's right down with the people, and him and his boys, from the vice president to the whatever prime minister, he's showing they're all here too. So why do you think people are running back? Why do you think people are running back? If my leader can be down on the ground, I'm coming back. Back because you wouldn't get that in anywhere else where a leader stands again in the ivory tower and talks, puts on a great press conference. You're not gonna get anybody coming. Not you'll get a few, but you're not gonna get like what you're getting now. Okay, I'm willing. If you're laying down, and Zelensky comes from a nice little padding too. He was a actor and he's been on all these shows. Everyone's Googling him now. He's been on Dance with the Stars. He's been on in his own right, he doesn't need to pull that much. He's a prime minister, president, whatever it is. So, anyways, it's really shown me what solidarity, what you will do when you're faced with challenge. Where will you be in the times of challenge? Are you gonna cower? Are you gonna run? Are you gonna step up, put yourself on the line? And that's why the world is galvanizing with them too. Because there's been many wars that you know, I think Russia's taken over another part of that area as well, right?
Yeah, Crimea, they
Yeah,
took
Crimea.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without any fanfare.
And we didn't, I don't think social media was where it is now. We didn't
Yeah.
know. And I'm sorry to interrupt. But my point is that, we're seeing, war was kind of sanitized,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Social media, TikTok, all this, you're seeing how ugly it is.
Yeah, people are doing lives.
Yeah, you're
You
seeing
know.
how ugly it is. And one of the things that really bothered me the other day, because I don't follow the news, but I have been following this war, is I saw someone, they're deceased and they had a blanket over them. And it was like a blanket from a house. It wasn't like a blanket from a factory. Like
Yeah.
someone covered them with a blanket, like a quilt from a
Right.
house.
Yeah.
And part of their hand was sticking out
Right.
of the blanket. But what bothered me and all that, their suitcase was next to them.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to flee. The suitcase was standing next to them.
Mm-hmm.
Not an armed combatant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Mm-hmm.
there's no honor in that. Zero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zero. And, these are war crimes.
Yeah.
All right. And so.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. We're gonna see, and I'm gonna Google it and figure out. There's a movie I watched way long ago. It was actually a black comedy, and they had this guy came out. He came out of jail after being locked up for a while, and they gave him his, as they would do. They give you your belongings that they confiscated when you went in, and he came out, and this was a movie in the 80s, let's say late 80s, but he came out from the 60s, so he's wearing all his pimp jacket and his platform shoes with all, and everyone's laughing at him, kind of pointing and laughing, and he's wondering what they're laughing at, right? And so it kind of reminds me of, or like the Austin Powers, I want $1 million. It reminds me of what Putin right now. He's coming at it with this old values that worked, I don't know, long ago. But these kids today are saying, we don't want you what you guys did, man. We don't want, because the Russian kids are speaking up, and that's leading the adults. That's why the adults are acting up, because the kids today, the millennials, are saying, nah, we don't want your world that you had. We don't want the marginalization. We don't want the separation. We don't want to take things by force. We don't want any of this. We don't want war. And they're standing up, and it's you can start to see it. Things are changing so rapidly in the world because the millennials are saying, no, I don't want it. I want equality. I want, that's why we're talking pronouns. We're talking all these things. Is because they don't want the old routine we used to do, man, where we marginalize people, we take things by force, we force it down your throat, that's how it was. So they're saying, yeah, we don't want none of that. So we're gonna push back. We're gonna show you we're not happy. We're not gonna do it aggressively in bomb places, but we're gonna no. And then that's gonna appeal, because you look at the some of the fighters in these wars right now. I read something, like I said, I don't pay attention, I don't dive deep, because you can go down a rabbit hole with all of these things going on in the world. But right now I saw something where they're returning Russian soldiers back that were captured back, sending them back home. So these Russian soldiers now are going, why are we fighting again? They're wondering why, because again, they're coming off of they're also young, and they don't. Yeah, that worked many moons ago when you had this do what I told you to do. and then you'll survive. People are like, I don't know, we don't want this. So yeah, that's my feedback on all of that. I'm very, it's very interesting to watch.
Yes, it is for sure on all levels. You know, on all levels when you really look at it, and you guys are right. When I look at the leadership, at the president, uh, what's powerful from him is that normally human nature, the reptilian brain for most people is fight or flight. You know, especially in situations like that. What's I guess unnatural, okay? What's different is when you get out of that, when you get out of your body. And him, he is still. Me, like, I have so much respect for people that can just stay still regardless of the situation and look at it in the eyes. And you look at him, and that's exactly what he is. He's like unfazed, and he's leading from that space of like security, of strength, no matter the situation. And he gets to inspire his people, be there. But I think why he's actually strengthening the Ukrainian people that much more, and they're on board that much more, is because he models also what he talks about, right? He models it. He's there, you know, he's there no matter what. And that's just an amazing thing. As you guys said, when you see him, you see all of his team, and you know, everyone else just follows suit. And that's what we think of when we think of Ukrainian people. Now, there are people who are very still, very resilient, no matter the situation, and they'll fight, you know, they'll fight. But at the same time, they have the other extreme where they don't lose their humanity. They still have love. You know, they're fighting for something they believe, but the enemy, they're people too in the end, right? And with the enemy, a lot of people aren't necessarily believing what they have to do. They're kind of sent to do it. So when I hear of Russian soldiers being captured and being brought back, for me, that's love in the end. You know, it's not losing your humanity through it all. And this is much more powerful than bullets. So hopefully, yes, this whole thing can stop, you know, because war at any point is just nothing that we want to see, you know, for sure. And also one point that I wanted to make, because I read about it a lot last week, it was a lot of people generally, they look at limitations. Let's say when we look at the leadership for Ukraine, they're outmanned. You know, there's a lot of things that go against them. Okay, but clearly when you look at them, they see potential also. They look at their strengths. They dive into their strengths, and they believe that their strengths can actually overcome any type of their weaknesses. So when we think like that, I think it's a nice way to transfer it to anything else, is that like, I truly believe that anyone who has a gift, you have the opposite also. You have some type of weakness, okay? And you can look at it two ways. You can think, my weaknesses, they're finite. You know, they go only so far. My strengths, though, if I dive into my strength, I can develop them forever. You know, there's no really any limit to that potential. So I believe the more we dive into our strength, no matter the situation, good things tend to happen. And these weaknesses that we have, maybe they're there, but as I think it was Alvin that said, that they become the stepping stone to your next one, and your next one, and your next one. And I just want to finish with this. I think 2 weeks ago, I told you guys about like a hockey player that I know that was there in Ukraine. He finally got to go home. A lot of people, you know, got together. They figured out a way for him to go home. He was on TV here locally. And it's crazy because he was faced with a situation where he was in a city that was being bombed, okay? And he had two choices, is whether like he stays there and hides, and if he had done that, he would still be there right now, you know? Maybe he would be dead right now, or he had to take a train, but all reports said that the train was getting shot at. The train was like a target, and the only way he could go home is to wait for that train. So he called his father, and for the first time, his father had no words to say to him. He just had no idea. His father's always like a strong person, but in the end, his father said, listen, you take that train, and God willing, you get to your destination. But if you stay there, you'll die. So I just imagine like saying that to your children, knowing that no matter the situation, like if he goes on that train is being shot up, but that's the only way I gotta send my son over there. And luckily you made it. But I'm like, man, this is no one should have to go through stuff like that. This is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I don't like to see people suffer, right? I don't. And for me, with what I do for a profession, I help people to live fuller lives personally and professionally, and more rewarding lives. And it's very rewarding to do that because people tell me. And I'm always blown away when somebody pulls me aside and say, you said this. I was at a conference, you said this 3 years ago, and then I don't even remember saying it a lot of times, right? But I'm like, oh, I did. You know what I mean? Like it's good, and this is what we do with it. So there was a conference a few years back. So a guy pulled me aside on Thursday, said, hey, I just want you to, at lunch. So I just want you to know this. So you told this story about AEDs, right? This construction company. And this guy is the head of safety. He said, yeah, I was just really moved by that story. So I went back and talked to leadership. And he said, so every one of our construction trucks has an AED on it. He said, we spent $80,000. And one of those AEDs, or maybe multiple, or someday going to save someone's life. But it's so impactful that, the AED, hey, we have these for our people, but we have them for job sites. Like it's bigger than just helping people in their company. It's about extending life. And those things, I don't know if you guys have ever used them, but they're so easy to use and really deliver a spark of life to people. So, as leaders, we're about preserving life, enhancing life, not destroying it. And people that are about destroying it are evil, plain and simple. This Putin is an evil dictator. And unfortunately, he's not alone. But Alvin said it when we were going through the thing here with Donald Trump at the end of his reign there. There's a Sun Tzu quote that, over 2,000 years, Sun Tzu said this: an evil enemy will burn down his own country to rule over the ashes. That's what we're seeing, is that this is not a war that's destroying one country, it's destroying two countries. And it's just a shame. And that this Putin doesn't really give a care about his people, that they're suffering. He doesn't care. And these guys are going over and getting shot up. Didn't even know why they're going there. They're getting bombed. They're getting shot. It's a bad situation. So hopefully that there's a few different ways that this could end abruptly. One way is for Putin to get overthrown. And so I'm hopeful for that, and to get back to some peace in Europe. So.
Once again, as Dr. Charlie brought up, when you enter a conversation or a meeting or a relationship, any relationship, when you enter it with the idea of, with an agenda of I gotta win, it's a tough one, whether it be a conversation with your partner at home or with your child or whatever it is. Anytime you come in with this idea that I'm in here to win at all costs, it's not a conversation anymore. It's just it's a manipulation of some kind to get an agenda move forward. Because if Putin came into this with the idea that whatever he's looking for, I don't know the deeper details on everything, but these things are a long history of how you got here. Nothing gets here overnight. There's a long history, but there's no concept of I want to negotiate and let's get a win-win here. This is I'm going to win by all costs. And wars, no one really wins. No one really wins in a, because if he goes up to the next level, which is nuke, which you're playing with those words are being toyed around with. I'm not sure who wins in that case. Forever nukes. So I'm not sure how that's almost like playing a game of Monopoly, and I'm pissed and I'll just throw the board off. I'm done. I'm not even gonna play anymore. So that's a whole lot of level of unraveling if you take it. So I'm not sure how you win this. Who wins? Yeah, so it's amazing. And what's come out of it for me is I was comparing this to 1991. I was talking to a young woman, and she said we were talking about how I was asking her, how do you feel about right now? Because we just rolled out of a 2-year pandemic that's been filled with uncertainty and filled with pessimism, doubt. It's been a trying time. A lot of controversy over, a lot of divide. Actually, no, what? In North America, mostly America, we just rolled out of a hotly contested presidential race. Plus, there is a race issue and police issue, and then we rolled right into a pandemic, and now we're rolling into a world war. I mean, it's been absolutely. So I'm asking this young person, hey, how do you feel right now? Because one thing that 30 years ago, 1990, 91, I said, think about this. Guess what we were dealing with then? Because at that time I was right into the news and reading the news. I didn't have a cell phone to buzz and tell me. I had to go and seek it. But that time Gulf War was on in 30 years ago. And someone came to my work, and he was talking all this Nostradamus and predictions, and he said the mark of the next evil that will end the world, it will be coming out of the Middle East, and they'll have a mark of the beast on their head. And he's telling me how Gorbachev has a mark of the beast, and I'm like, oh my God, I was buying in. I was like pessimistic. And then guess what else was going on? So war was going on, Gulf. Guess what else? We had AIDS was the next threat. Potential, it was an endemic, but it was potential pandemic. People were worried about AIDS. Guess what else was going on? The riots in LA was going on. Police caught on film, right? Rodney King being beat down, and there was a riot, and LA went crazy. So there was tensions. I'm like, wow, look at what was going on. It's the same thing. So we've been fascinated as a planet. We've been fascinated with the end of this planet. People of Y2K was supposed to be the end of the world. The comet coming is supposed to be the end of the world. We're fascinated with somehow. We just can't be comfortable with singing Kumbaya and living in peace. There's some reason we have to create a disruption in the way we're living. So, anyways, it's just amazing to me how we become enthralled with when is the end to the point where no one lives this one. Yeah. I mean, Don't worry about the end. Worry about living the one you have right now. Worry about making this one the best yet. Because like I said, 1991, 30 years ago, 30 going on 31. Yeah, I was worried about the same thing now. That's why I asked that young person, how do you feel now? Because I was worried then that was the end because I was buying into the whole thing. But now I have some time, some history, and I'm realizing it's just another cycle again of once humans are involved, ego, we vibrate at a different level, man. So
Yeah, and it's crazy also how I guess we find ourselves in these situations also because a lot of people don't actually understand that they are high potential people. Like they can, they can be and do and achieve whatever's best about them. For some reason, they lost that. They truly believe that they are not that. So they don't live, and that's kind of like an issue also sometimes why certain things that are so logic, can't necessarily be understood. A lot of people just kind of wandering when really there's so much more. There's so much better, you know. And yeah, I'll just go back to what you guys were saying about control and things like that. Well, I truly believe also that anything that's worthwhile is never achieved by force. It's achieved through understanding, and this translates really to everything, to everything. Once you understand, the ball really gets rolling. And we talked about millennials, I mean, millennials aren't perfect, far from that. But I'm happy about this because especially in this time we're in, a lot of millennials, they have to be called to as much as possible. They're not necessarily in power with everything, but it's important for them to lead up and lead down as much as they can, as much as they can, because most people in power, I guess the most scarce resource that they could have that they don't have enough of sometimes is the truth, and I think it's important. I think it's everyone's role, to say the truth as much as possible. And sometimes when you're not in power, what do you want? You want to be liked, right? You want to be liked. You want things to work out, especially with people that are over you. Well, I believe no matter what stage you're in, it's important to lead. And the best thing you can do for your leaders is to give them like a healthy and compassionate and smart dose of truth. As on the same level, you do the same, but as you lead down, you do the same. But I see a lot of it going upwards right now, which is a good thing, which is a good thing, which is why I believe all of us need, because that's difficult to do in most situations. That's very difficult to do. And we're seeing it in Ukraine. We're seeing it in Russia. We're seeing it all over the world. We're seeing people who are tired, who are tired and who are more understanding, who are more understanding of things, which is why they believe, hey, we're all the same at some point, and we're stepping up. So as much as I said that a lot of people don't live, it's cool to see more and more people awaken, just open their eyes to a lot of things, while maybe, other people just rather kept their eyes closed before or now. But that's a cool thing to see for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone, many people, many more people nowadays have access to a microphone, right? That they can share their thoughts, and those thoughts get out into the collective consciousness. So I think we all have a responsibility to your point, Ray, speak the truth and not do otherwise. And I see in this country, and again, I'm an independent. I'm not affiliated with any political party, but I've noticed one of the political parties, they're rallying around this very specific dialogue now. They're calling the other party communists, like they're saying it. And I'm like, here we go. They're taking advantage of this situation in the world to spread rhetoric over here, when what we really should be focusing on is how to bring it into this war and give assistance to the Ukrainian people. But instead, they're going to tell lies. There are no communists. People leave communist countries to come here. People aren't indigenous to here and thinking we need communism. It's a ludicrous lie. But that's the state of the character of certain individuals in this country. And so it's just really important as a global community that we speak the truth, we lean on truth, we honor the truth, we respect the truth, and we perpetuate the truth.
Yes, sir. 100. So I think, it's we can come out of, there's a lot of learning potential right now for all of us to come out of. I learned a lot with there's a lot of unpacking, let's put it that way. Over the last 4 years, I've learned a lot about life and things, and I'm in my 50s, and I think I've learned more now in the last 5 years than I have in 40 plus years. I've learned a lot about what systemic actually means, and how we've been living quietly and routinely under a system, and now it's become unpacked to see what it's really about. So that's been revealing. I've learned a lot about everything that we have gotten used to, dysfunctional or not, is being unraveled, and is being replaced by something that works today. Because it may have the way it was set up worked, I guess, for a few people back then, and now this stuff is being unraveled and should be working for today's world. So this war again is revealing another thing that needs to be unpacked again, because we've been sitting with this idea of potential war for a long time. For a long time, we've been sitting on these superpowers, this country, that country, and everybody kind of it's a big white elephant in the room. And now, one of the white elephants popping up, and people are saying, we don't want this. Is a big rally to go with this small little, it's literally like watching a David and Goliath, right? A big, Goliath, and here's David Zelensky, with just a slingshot. That's all the hope is this slingshot, and hopefully hit Goliath. So, it's a lot of things are being revealed right now if we let those lessons come in. America itself is improving with its race relations. It's improving, but it's really highlight that it was there. A lot of people didn't realize how it was ubiquitous and hidden, and we just got along with it. If it didn't bother you, you didn't say anything. It just kept going, right? the way it is, and so, oh, and I'm doing okay in my individual world. Okay, glass ceiling, but it is what it is. And now it's been crashed and cracking. I mean, we're far from, it's not a movie here where it ends at the end of the movie, but it's a progress. It's moving forward, right? This war will end up, whatever it turns out, is something will be unpacked, and the framework will be dissolved, or at least maybe not in our lifetime, but you'll start to crack the foundation of what it was sitting on. And the kids, I call kids, but the new group coming in will replace it with a bit more, something that works for a lot more people. Let's put it that way. I'm avoiding words that would say it's over or it's going to be, because it doesn't work that way. It takes a long time to unpack hundreds of years of belief systems, but we're moving in that direction. When you see everybody coming together with Ukraine, and I mean, there's been a lot of other wars out there that continue under the radar that we don't know about, that doesn't get the highlight. But if we can at least use this to have a highlight to unpack future wars, we're moving in the right direction. So I believe out of every chaos, every challenge, a new solution comes. So let's hope this was another one, and let's hope that nuke idea doesn't come to surface, because again, not sure who wins in that case.
Please, yes, that we don't want that. No one wants that. And it's also a testament to you guys. In the end, you said that in the past 5 years, you probably learned more than you have in the past 40 years.
Mhm.
The key here is just to learn, right? It's why we're having these conversations, because you or Dr. Charlie could have been exposed to some of these concepts, to some of these things we're talking about maybe 20 years ago, but maybe you just weren't ready. As you process information at some point, oh boom, it clicks, you get to see it differently, and you're ready for more. So that's key. It's just to continually learn, so that we can unlock something else. I'm definitely committing to that, staying humble, staying curious. That's the key, so that we can look at the past and kind of understand why things are, or look at the present also and see a little bit more into the future, be able to anticipate a little bit better with more understanding. So that's for sure. Me too. I pray for peace. That's what I pray for. I pray for love. Here in Quebec, for instance, it's funny, but there was always this conversation about separating from Canada and becoming our own country. And I remember when I was a kid, I was very young. This was like the big thing, the referendum. That's how they called it, and they were voting for that, to actually separate. And I remember my parents just telling me, "Hey, if this happens, we're getting out of here. We're moving to the States. We're going back to Africa, whatever. Like we're not staying here." And it didn't happen. And they ended up saying it was because of the ethnic vote. Okay, because of the ethnic vote, it's basically our fault. And as we all moved on from it, I mean, a lot of people still want that. You can tell, a lot of people forget that we're in it together. I have a neighbor. He's retired. He's close to 70 years old, and we always have great conversations. And he told me, "Hey, Raymond, you might not speak to me anymore once you learn I'm a separatist." And I'm like, I don't care what you are, it's about me and you. It's about we're talking together, and whether you're a separatist or not, how does that change anything, between us? Whenever I get to speak to you, I learn something about you, vice versa. Why should it put you on our side or me on one side. And that comes from just learning and understanding that people are people in the end. And that's the most important thing. Whatever they believe, once we come from a place of truly trying to learn and understand, there are bridges that can be made, and that starts within us too. So I do pray for peace, and I pray for humanity, that people just go back to that as much as possible. Let's try to find what brings us together instead of what separates us all the time. You know, there's a lot more that brings us together.
Amen to that, 100%.
Yeah, amen.
All right. So I believe this was a good one for today. It's a little bit different too. You know, we talked about more Ukraine and all of that situation. Other than that, listen, my word for the week, honestly, it would be to love, you know, to love, no matter who it is, just to see what's best in people first, instead of what's worst about them or what separates us. There's always something good in people, you know, so that would be my word for the week, love.
So I want to say something here. And again, I'm gonna say that Alvin's gonna say something very similar to what I'm about to say. I can already tell you, but you give me hope, Ray, because you're the future, and we need people that think the way you do, that are gonna step into that and bring that kind of leadership to the world, because it spreads that message. And I know you have influence over people, and that's only going to grow. And so that makes me feel good about the future, because this mindset that the world's been in for far too long needs to die with the people that perpetuate it. And my word will be peace.
Thank you.
Yes, I've always said that. As Dr. Charlie knows, I've always said that I like the way millennials we're handing over the baton, because my generation and generation before me, I don't believe we did it proper. It was created and perpetuated to serve a certain group, their needs only. And now the millennials are saying everyone has a place at the table. And it may not be the millennials who get this done, maybe the next one that follows, but the process has started to unravel, to shake the foundation of something that was built, and it's starting to shake out a lot of the people that were sitting and keeping it perpetuated. So I think so my word is going to be really communication, because between this, what's going on, and a couple of the personal experiences I've had in the last week, if we come together, and I want to win my communication, and that's the only thing I have in my mind, is to win. I won't listen to any logic. I won't listen to any other options. I won't entertain anything else. I just want to win. I just want to, so the communication ends when we just focus on winning something. I don't know if you, in a human interaction, it's not sports and athletics. This is human stuff. I don't know if there's any winning. If you are having a conversation or a disagreement at home, and you're trying to win it with your kids, with your partner, with anyone you care about, and you're trying to win, it's not a competition. It's not a boxing match or a race. It's communication. It needs communication. That means being open to hear both sides, to consider, to bend, to give, to take. And so communication is my piece.
Love it, guys. So this is it. Peace, love, and soul, 100%.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. I wish you an amazing week.
You as well, my brother.
Likewise, fellas.
All right. Peace, love.